When you come to TGI
Wednesdays,
it's going to be great. Why? It's
Wednesdays.
passion. We're compulsively preoccupied with the notion that we have to guarantee every day, every time, that it's
Wednesdays.
It's going to be great. Guaranteed.
Test. Hello and welcome, everybody. This is Kanuki, and I'm here giving you your TGI Wednesday Trading Grounds I weekly recap for week 3 out of your week 5 of your Trading Grounds. And we've got pretty good matchups this week and some pretty good games, so let's just dive in and see how we go. Let's take a look at the schedule. So, first up, we had Ambitank's Underworld, Rebels Official Zoo, taking on the Bretonians, the Brets of SebaBear, in a 2-0 victory for the Underworld. And we'll take a look at the highlights from that in a bit. And then next up, we had the Ramping Up Elves, that would be Murtzumsve, his High Elves, in a spirited 2-2 draw with the Wah Beasts of Cthulhu Collector, the orcs there, and get to those highlights in a bit as well. And then the last game, just completed yesterday, we had Rugbart's Necromantics against Octochicken's Norse team, IKEA, and so the Necro, of course, losing out narrowly on this one in a game of a lot of violence and some good development. We'll take a look at that as well. So first off, I guess we'll just dive into the first game of the round. That was Rebels Official Zoo versus the Bretonians. And what we had, well, excitement from the first go, really. We had an attrition fireball on turn 1 from the Brets, trying probably to take down who has been a star of the day many times already these weeks, with the bomber Dribblesnot from the Underworld. But unfortunately, I don't hate it as an option. Turn 1 attrition fireballs can work, especially when you're not too concerned about the end result. But unfortunately, it didn't really bring down much of anything. The troll and the bomber went down, but both were just knockdowns and got straight back up again. So no removals, nothing permanent. And unfortunate. And that, unfortunately, also for SebaBear, gains him today's denial of the day. And then moving on, we had quite a number of one-die blocks from both teams all across the game. Both coaches a bit guilty, but SebaBear probably taking the more excessive one-die blocks, and probably Ambitank a bit luckier with the results in his. And then we also had the troll behaving badly, unfortunately, picking up this week's derp of the day, Penguin, especially for his performance in the second half, with I think it was 3 really stupids on each of the, or not each of the, but 3 really stupids out of the first 4 turns of the second half, including a blitz that had to be loner re-rolled while the ball was based, and that was a risky play. Luckily that loner reroll succeeded, but nevertheless, I think Penguin still deserves our derp of the day this week. And finally, a contrast to his troll brother, the bomber Dribblesnot, brings home once again, I think this is 2 weeks running, the winner of the week, being the hero in really making some great plays to open up the sides of the cage. Not quite getting the ball carrier down like he did in previous weeks, but he was able to make the play that really was the one of the plays of the week, but not the play of the week, in terms of opening up the side cage that the Bretts had moved down with their ball carrier, taking down both of the corners of that side cage, including an injury and a Kaz, and then opening that up for a clear surf on the ball, and then a quite straightforward ball recovery from the underworld. So that was a well-played maneuver, but that was really all facilitated by Bomber Dribblesnot being quite accurate and effective with his bombs, quite contrary to his usual nature. Oh, I missed one. Going back, I just have to question, is wrestle a skill? I noticed a few times over the course of the game that Seba Bear had used one of his blockers, who have, despite their name, the built-in wrestle skill, and had got both downs on the dice, and had chosen instead to not wrestle. And this is okay if you're using the idea of this game's development. Sure, that's a thing, and you're going against goblins that you might think you can create some injury with their stunty in AV7. But there were still other moments where it was a skull bolt down, and that was re-rolled into a dub skull. And so I think you've got the wrestle skill, you take it, especially in that case where you had two players who were down and hadn't moved any actions. So interesting to look at that application of the wrestle, or the lack thereof, from the Bretts in this case. And then the final note on this game was we had very sleepy Skaven Blitzers. Not that they were failing KO rolls, but basically after their early pilings on, they were knocked out by fouls and spent, I think collectively, the two Skaven Blitzers spent collectively more time off the field clearly than they spent on it. And yeah, it was a bit of a miss, but it didn't really make so much difference to the end result. So that was the game, and good 2-0 victory for the Underworld there, thanks to them being able to use the bomber effectively to open up the cage and get the counter score on the Brett's drive. All right, we'll stop there and move on to the next game. And we're back and moving on to the second game of the week, which was the Wah Beasts of Cthulhu Collector, the Orcs versus the High Elves of Wildsmsve, the Ramping Up Elves. And as I was discussing with Wildsmsve in our channel, I agree with his assessment, or he agrees with my assessment, but this was very much a game of elves out-orking orcs and orcs out-elving elves, or elf orcs versus orc elves. It was very much, especially in the beginning, a situation where the elves were causing all the damage, and yet the orcs were still able to do some dodging, some passing, some quick scoring, and that really did lead to the sort of the tempo of the game overall, although it kind of changed in the second half. But we saw a situation where the orcs were able to score relatively early in the first half, but give the high elves time to tie up. And then again, orcs scoring early in the second half, high elves able to tie up. So that was sort of how the flow of the game went overall. We had an interesting play in turn 5 where the High Elves had been able to steal the ball, and then on turn 6, the Orcs had the chance with some dice, quite a lot of dice, but quite a good play. In fact, our well played of the week, to come back and dodge out their blitzer in order to get a nice POW. And this was not an easy dodge, and it was not an easy POW, but getting a nice POW on the dodger with the ball, and able to recover the ball in hand. So that was indeed our well played of the week. And then overall, we had a play back and forth, and Orcs in the second half finally able to start meting out some damage, taking it to the Elves with some fouls and some cast dice there, and also turn 11 there was a bit of a weird play with the High Elves leaving their ball pretty far exposed. And the Orcs were able to grab the ball there, but score early enough to give the Elves time to tie it up at the end of the second half. But an interesting game overall, back and forth. And finally, Agi5 doing Agi5 things. That player, the Agi5 player from the High Elves, really making things difficult and life difficult for the Orcs overall. So yeah, an interesting game, pretty good development overall, and we'll take a look at those any level ups and whatnot a bit later, and we'll start moving on to the next game. And finally, we move on to the last game of the week, just played yesterday, and quite another ding-dong. I quite enjoyed this game. We even gave it a cast, although I still had to go back and look at the replay because I didn't remember anything from our cast yesterday, except Neb singing "Bang Bang, My Baby Shot Me Down." But looking at this game, I think the key highlights were very much both teams going for development and damage leading to development over defense. More or less each coach or both coaches were happy to let the other coaches go forward and score, which is pretty understandable in the development phase of the league at this point. And especially in the second half, we had the runner of the Norse, IKEA, quite safely able to stand on the touchline while all of the other players of both teams really just clumped together in a big murder ball in midfield and tried to whack the heck out of each other, which was fun to watch. And the other points of the game, I would say Xenon, very much like a wolf, being one of Rugbart's wolves, they always just roll doubles for Mighty Blow. And this is Rugbart's third wolf of the season that has rolled Mighty Blow doubles, and I'm sure he'll roll many more in the future. It was a good play, I think, in the beginning. I think it was the second or the third turn that Rugbart was able to get the quick score on Xenon with a throw from the other wolf, Prometheus, or Prometheum, sorry. And from then on, of course, by scoring that early, he gave up the chance for Octo Chicken to counter score at the end of the first half, and to stall out for the 2-1 win at the end of the second half. But as I said, in the overall situation. Both teams were pretty much focused on sort of doing damage, try to get development that way, which is fair. And although somewhat derpy, Malm didn't quite get our derp of the day. He did have quite a few derps this half, or this game, but not quite enough to beat Penguin of Ambitank's Underworld team. And finally, looking at the overall situation with what we had from SPP in this game, yeah, you had excellent development from the Necromantics with 7 on Curia Memories, and getting that level for Xenon like a wolf with, and then a pass from Saber Prometheum. And also not bad, of course, from IKEA with good Kaz stats and the scores from Hulestad and a Kaz from Malm there. So all looking overall pretty nice. And we'll take a look at the development and future prospects for all these teams in a bit. All right, let's take a look at the teams then and see how they've developed, as this is primarily a development phase / league at this point. So we can go from the first game and look at the two teams that we had featured, Ambitank's Underworld and the Bretonians, of Sebabert. So first we'll take a look at Ambitank's team, which didn't take any level ups, it looks like, this week, but they've got all their players back, so I think that's a win. Hippopotamus was the only perm, but still, does he need Agi? Not really. And looking good on development there. Still a few SPP away from next levels. Penguin, despite sometimes derpiness, having the block there makes him so safe. And then, all of the players, he's got 13-player team. Not so much development of the goblins, but that's okay. They're really just there for a blade of armor. And a nice plus movement on Bear, the thrower, who's, tossed in a few touchdowns in his day. Lineman, still, as we said in the pre-cap, still needing some development, but Snake, only 2 SPP away there from his next level. And then the other from that opponent was the Bretts, Sebabert, and the team roster. So we're seeing a level up. That's the only level from this game, from Lothair, de Baston. And it'd be interesting to see what he will go for. Again, I have no idea about Bretts. And the blockers looking a bit weak in development compared to the blitzers. Overall, it's a bit not necessarily what you'd want to see. Pretty low development still overall from Sebabert. And you don't really need the extra level on Duldug, the dirty player lineman. He just needs to be a dirty player and get knocked out and not take away as much SPP TV value when he gets sent off. All right, and we'll take a look at the next teams. We'll have up, wait a second, one moment please. Yeah, we'll take a look at Cthulhu Collector's Orcs, and it looks like they've managed to take at least a couple level ups here from their last game with, Spotted Hyena and Mule. So a Blitzer and a Lineman each taking a level up. Here, Spotted Hyena taking guard. There was a discussion in the Discord that he had accidentally taken guard on this. I think, and many other coaches think, that once you've got the mighty blow on the other 2 blitzers and tackle on a third one, that guard is absolutely a perfect choice here. So no worries about that quote-unquote mistake. And then we had the dirty player lineman. Again, whether you want another level on your dirty player lineman, same situation we had with the last team. But Mule taking block, which makes him safer, but also adds to more TV being removed should he get sent off. But overall, I'm liking the looks. Finally starting to see some pretty solid development. 5 SPP on Goose. You'd want to see that leveled by the end of this round of the league. And then Loon also lagging behind most of the other players there, but overall relatively solid. Nothing on the thrower Gramlop, who had to be re-rolled after the previous thrower dying, and nothing on Banana Slug the Goblin, which is pretty much how you'd want him as an additional fouling piece after Mule. So looking pretty good there. And let's go on and take a look at their opponents from this week, which were the Elves, High Elves of Mutsamsve. Here we go, taking a look. And they also had a couple level ups from their catcher, who has had a few problems staying on the field. But Vason's Oren has looked like he's taken wrestle there, which is a fine skill for a catcher. Either block or wrestle after dodge is pretty safe pick. And the other one was Morakan Tridenthior Telfanthor, which alignment also running away with 17 SPP there. And yeah, you're starting to see this early high elf bloat as their linemen stay alive much more than pro elves in my experience. Very much. So we've got a naked lineman with with Mighty Blow, which is going to take a little bit of time to develop and could be a bit unreliable in the meantime. He's lost his thrower for the next game. I'm not even going to try to pronounce these names, which means not so much. He had accurate and throw, but might just lead to more opportunities for some vanity passing in the next game. He's going to be down a couple players. He's down to 9, so he'll be rolling a couple of loners in the next game. So in the last matchup, we had Rugbard against Docto Chicken, the Necromantics versus the Norse. And as mentioned earlier, this was a bonanza of SPP, pretty much for both teams. And we'll take a look at what we've got in terms of the roster and the development here. As mentioned, we had Xenon like a wolf gaining the obligatory Mighty Blow with his first level, which seems to be a fairly regular thing in Rebel Necro teams, and certainly for Rugbard, having rolled his third Mighty Blow double of all of his wolves that he's had alive so far. And he also got some very nice, finally I would say, SPP on his other flesh column, the one that didn't get to hand off touchdowns in like the second game of Div 5E. So Curia Memories getting his level up finally to get blocked there, going to be a critically important piece. So really this team is looking very solid going into the last 2 rounds of this training grounds, and then on into their next division, wherever they end up next season. It's going to be 4. Whether it will be with my team going on to destroy it, we'll see. And then going on to the last team of our development recap here. Take a look at Octo Chicken's excellent looking Norse team. He's got those 2 very good berserkers now. Pax was of course the strongest and quickest to develop, getting Pylon first, and is now going on to getting tackle as well. The only level up from this round was, however, his lineman was Fracta. Yeah. Oh, Fracta rolling a double, it looks like, there for guard, which is really nice. So, he's got such nice looking players, especially with Ulestad, the plus strength, blodge, sure hands runner, which has done so much in terms of ball control over the course of this season. 40 out of 51 SPP, so he's only a touchdown away from his next level. The Yeti Malm, still being a Yeti. And the two Ulfs, as we mentioned, I think at the beginning of the recap, were the ones that needed the most development. Hemnes has run away a bit after getting block, and now onto guard as well, which is a really sweet piece. Poang, though, still hanging on 5 out of 6 SVP. And then the lineman, looking fairly good. A dirty player and kicked tackle lineman on lack as well. But the killer's really well developed, really nice looking, and the runner is just a brilliant looking piece. So that's all we have to do except look on to how things are going to shape out for round 4 out of 5 next week, and any predictions. I can't, of course, have any bias here. But Rebels Official Zoo versus Wa Beasts. So we have the Ambitank Underworld team against Cthulhu Collectors Orcs. Britannians of Seba Bear against IKEA Octo Chickens Norse. And ramping up Elves, the Mirtzumsve Joloda, however you want to say his name, High Elves against Rugbarch Necromantics. Hard to pick some of these teams. We had said that Octo Chicken and Rugbart would probably be the standout leaders, but of course it's a development league, and so what priorities each coach will have are very difficult to predict. I would say in terms of the first game, going to be a bit of a wash whether the AV7 can withstand some of that, the AV9 of the Orcs can withstand some of that claw that those two Skaven Blitzers have going, as long as they stay on the field after piling on and not getting fouled straight off. Britannians, I kind of favor Octo Chicken here. I think he has the tools with, as we just explored, all of those nice players from the Berserkers and the runner, especially well developed, needing some more on the Ulfs. But I think they have the tools to deal with the Bretts in this case. And finally, I think perhaps a bit more of a coin toss here in the last one, whether Mirtzumsve's, Joladada's High Elves and Rugbart's Necro, who will come out on top. I would predict that Rugbart will be pretty happy to let the Elves score as long as he can destroy and damage the Elves for some SPP. I see that maybe going to a draw or a High Elves with the Necro still taking more of the overall SPP gain. All right, that was it. That was the first and almost last of our TGI Wednesdays. So it's been fun. I hope the sound quality was a bit better this week. And we'll look forward to seeing you guys all next week. Good luck with your games. Let me know when you're playing. I can't promise to stream any of them, but we'll at least be able to follow along and give you some, bad feedback about how you're playing. All right, take care and see you all next week.